GWR after the speech. And feel free to smile. Each of the speeches are different from one another, but they all share an overall theme, facing our fears and challenges. So Franco is here to present speech number 11 of 23, entitled Momentum. Please join me in welcoming Franco Skenker.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being a part of this event. It's been a long time in planning, but it's for a good cause, and I know that's why a lot of us are here today, is to support the Canadian Cancer Society. In previous speeches, I talked about the various ways that I had undertaken or faced the challenges that I was faced with in undertaking this event. And some were rather unorthodox. In speech number 2, way back this morning at 8 something, I talked about applying Newton's laws of motion to facing my fears of failure, of being ostracized, and rejection. All these things that are usually associated with speaking in front of a crowd, an audience. And so this is a bit of an extension to that. So I'll give you a little bit of a recap of that speech, and that was basically looking at, if I can remember his laws of motion, which now I can't because I'm not in front of me here. But for example, the most famous law of Newton's 3 laws of motion is that of for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I applied that to my fear of rejection. Thinking, okay, I want to take this event on, but I'm sure I'm going to be faced with people who don't believe in the same cause that I do. And sure enough, I was. There's no doubt, whenever you're doing something, especially when you're putting yourself out there in a very personal way, which I'm doing, which I don't like to do, as you can see, it's beads of sweat. I applied that as a reminder to say there's always going to be opposing views. But if you believe enough in something, it's important enough to you to do it, then just do it. So this is a continuation of that. That's why I talked about momentum. There's a quote that says, "The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, but the optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty." It definitely applies to me in this event and my experiences in facing fears and challenges with this event. Because, well, I'm either an optimist trapped in the body of a pessimist or the other way around. But one of the most difficult things I've found can be is to face a difficulty and to keep going. How many times we face a difficulty in whatever we're doing and just say, is it really worth it? And I found out with this event, one of the most difficult things is to meet a challenge and to keep going, and to keep that momentum. And one of the biggest things I learned was that it's important to keep momentum going in the face of any of these challenges. So I want to talk about why momentum is important, how I applied momentum, this thought of momentum to this event, and that we actually do these things in our daily lives, and I had done them without even realizing it until I actually taken on this event. So not really complicated concepts, at least for me. Finally, as I do with a lot of the speeches, or all the speeches, is to talk about share a story of hope from the Canadian Cancer Society, when someone who has battled cancer, a caregiver, or someone who had faced cancer themselves, and how that relates to this subject that I'm talking about today. As I mentioned, the first thing, the most difficult thing is to face a challenge and to keep going. And I found these three things that help me to keep momentum going. And I have a strange title too. The first one's fueling momentum. What I mean by that is when you're undertaking anything, whatever it could be, whether you're in a community organization or whether you're doing something as a hobby or you're facing a personal challenge, it's important to fuel it. What I mean by that is to make time for it every day. I've been planning this event for a year and a half, and so I had minimal time to actually work on this because of my day job and then my nighttime job, because the children at home as well. So, but it's important for me to keep going because it was just something that I had in the background, a dream that I wanted to do, something I want to give to my father and those who helped my dad. So I thought, you've got to fuel it. You've got to make time for it every day. If it's a challenge or a fear you want to break down or something you're trying to overcome, make time for it every day. I call these micro wins, or you call them, celebrating the little victories. And in doing that, making time for it every day, it helps smooth out the speed bumps that you face along the way. For example, I had this checklist of all of the venues that I wanted to reach out to and speak to. Started off with all bread as a status of those, participation. And over time, it was important for me to kind of see those turn green, even if it was something I'd be checking back on for 2 minutes a day or a couple minutes every couple days. It's important to see that momentum, make sure that it was still happening. But they're not complex concepts or things that you actually don't realize until you deliberately do it, and how important that is to keep momentum going. So fueling it is the first one. The second one was embedding momentum. And what I mean by that is it kind of builds on fueling it. What I mean by that is learning a little bit about whatever you're taking on every day. And for me, it was learning a little bit about reaching out to community organizations, learning a little bit about the current world record and what was involved in that. Not spending a lot of time, but little spurts of knowledge every day that help me basically learn more about the challenge. Really helps keep momentum going. And with more you know, the more confident you get, the more momentum continues. So that helps as well. The last thing I learned was measuring it. You can take on any challenge, but if you don't know how far you've gotten, you don't really know what your progress looks like. And so measuring your momentum is important for me as well. If you hear this term, you can't manage what you don't measure. I hear that a lot. And it was true with this event as well, right? I talked about that spreadsheet, right, of seeing all the reds turn to yellows, turn to greens, and over a year, kind of getting them all to greens, and then us being here today. So it was. It's important to measure the momentum you're building as well. If I sound out of breath, I did a bit of jogging about 20 minutes ago. I left the speeches at one location and I ran back and give away on those. So no excuse, I'm sweating a little bit. I'll just attribute that to the nerves and jogging. And so how does this apply to what we do? I mean, initially a lot of these talks were towards community organizations and community groups, but I think it applies, the sense of momentum applies to everything we do, no matter what type of work we do. Building momentum over time is fueled by one positive interaction after another. Right? If you don't have those positive interactions with another, momentum dies off, right? We just give up. Embedding it, learning constantly about the challenges we're facing helps build that momentum as well. Finally, measuring. We always talk about progress reports and measuring progress reports, and those are important for measuring your progress, but I think it's also important, what I learned in this event, is seeing how your momentum builds into the next phase of whatever you want to take on in that challenge. So before I go, I want to share a story of hope that is an extreme example of someone applying this notion of momentum in battling cancer. The story of Michael, and he said momentum helped with his battling of liver cancer. He was diagnosed at 51, and he was told it was inoperable. Without chemotherapy, he had 3 months to live. With chemotherapy, he had a year. And that was 3 years ago. He said all through the chemotherapy, he had difficulty after difficulty. And eventually, he was referred to a specialist in Montreal who was able to treat the tumor surgically. As he looked back on constant difficulties, but he looked back on it in the way that he faced it. He said he faced it with a positive attitude. He said it was that positive attitude, facing those challenges and learning about what he was faced with, and constantly having that positive attitude helped him build momentum to fight back his cancer. He said despite the roller coaster of treatments, he kept calm, especially with the support of his family, to make sure he had that positive reinforcement. So the pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, but the optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. I hope I share a little bit of my experience in this event. Hope there's some things you can take away and apply to your lives. I want to thank you, everyone, for being a part of this event and supporting the Canadian Cancer Society, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
The bell? The bell?
Can I get the bell? Okay, guys, if everybody can just stay where you are.